Welcome to my podcast, and thank you for joining me at the intersection of mystical and mundane. I am your host, Lydia Lazara, founder of Questions Authority Coaching. And in this podcast, you'll hear personal stories from my own experiences and from others shared with me, real-time realizations of the intersection of the mystical and mundane, and short stories written to not only entertain, but to open you up to the magical, mystical divine at work in our lives every day. So answer yes to your soul's invitation and meet me at the intersection of mystical and mundane, where coincidences become synchronicities, where mistakes become gifts of insight, and where your heart connects deeply with your soul and you begin to flow with the universe. Episode 4, Preparing to Sync. So just like with episode 2, I'm going to give you a little chance to go back and listen to episode 3, Time to Sync, if you have not yet listened to it. Today's episode will discuss parts of the story and the meaning behind the story. So if you don't want spoilers, pause this episode and head back to the 3rd episode before you listen here. And of course, if you're still with me, welcome. I'm so happy to be here with you today for this episode. I won't lie, the 3rd episode, Time to Sync, it was hard to finish. The first part of that story flowed out of me easily and quickly, right up until the point where my soul said, hey, it's time to go into the ocean. And I shared vulnerably that I was scared. When I got to that part of the story and those words came out of me, all of those emotions and those fears were triggered in me as well, and I had to pause. And I thought that I would just come back to it maybe later that day or the next morning. And instead, it was almost 2 full weeks before I was able to come back and finish it. It didn't finish the way that I had initially wanted it to finish. When I write these stories, they're almost meditative. It's almost as though I get out of the way and my soul is writing the story instead of me. I'm still definitely aware and part of it and shaping it, but I don't necessarily direct how it goes or where it goes. And I love that about these stories so far. And I know we're only on episode 4 of the podcast. We have so many more yet to write, to listen to explore together. But this one certainly was different from the first episode in how much I think I struggled with my ego to finish it. Because of course I'm the overachiever. I should be able to sink into the ocean and let go of everything right away, right? Yet we're taught from a really young age that the unknown, the deep, is scary. It's not safe. We need our dry land. We need our paddle boards or our boats or surfboards. We need those limits, those boundaries, those boxes, those containers that let us know where the edges are and how to stay safe, what the expectations are, and what the consequences are when we leave those containers or those safe spaces. I mean, I think of a really simple example of this. I think of us as young children learning how our bodies work, and we're developing our fine motor skills and muscle control. And at some point, as we gain a little more muscle control, we are given coloring books with pictures for us to color in. And we're told we need to color inside the lines, right? This is a pretty common story for most of us. And while the purpose of coloring inside the lines ultimately is to help us develop those fine motor skills, yet because we are still so young and our language that we're born understanding and knowing and speaking fluently is energy, what we pick up from that instead of, hey, you're learning how to work with your body more closely and how to control it and ask it to do what you want it to do. Instead of that, what we tend to take from it is we must color within the lines to be loved, to be accepted, to belong, to be good. And when we don't color within the lines, then we end up getting punished or suffering consequences that are undesirable, that we don't want to experience. And everything in our world is designed around placing us within some kind of box or limit or container. There's a lot happening within our school systems and within how we educate our children that is changing and morphing into something beautiful. Yet a lot of times, this structured education and learning is how, again, we as children take in energetically these lessons of limitations, expectations, boundaries, stereotypes, boxes and ceilings that we are not meant to come out of. We have to behave a certain way. We can only play or create if it fits within someone else's expectations. We have to show our work, and it has to be in very particular form, the way we were taught. And if we come up with the correct answer using a different way, then we are punished by losing points or not getting credit at all. My husband has an example of that from when he was a child, and the way his mind works with math is beautiful and certainly not the way mine works. I'm not bad at math, but he is phenomenal, and his brain just comes up with these answers, oftentimes in his head without even having to use a calculator or write things down. And so when he's told to show his work, he would show the steps he took, but there were steps missing from what the teacher had wanted, and she would take points off from him, and he did not understand. As a child, he did not understand or comprehend why. He got the right answer, he showed his work, he thought he was fulfilling the expectations, but the way his brain works, his brain just automatically calculates some steps so quickly and unconsciously that he didn't even recognize that he had skipped steps, as it were, that he had combined steps to come up with the answer. And so, again, It's a simple example, but it's a very common one where we begin to receive these lessons and take these into our very being, that we need to stay on the beach, stay on the shore. We need to stay within the known. And the known are our limitations, those expectations from society, from our parents, from our teachers, from any other authorities in our lives. And when we start to move outside of it, we are called rebellious, black sheep. Maybe we're called criminal or eccentric. Maybe we're made fun of, ostracized, cut off from family and the ones we love. Whereas the ocean represents the unknown, it represents spirit, the divine, God, the infinite universe. It represents what I often like to call the now, all capitals, capital N, capital O, capital W, or the void, that space that exists outside of time, which is a limit, outside of the known, because if we only engage in what we know, then our world is very small indeed. And something that I loved that came through in episode 3 twice is how, yet again, our soul shows up as that 6 or 7 year old child, same as how it showed up in episode 1. And I found that we were asking for permission, asking to be told that it was okay from our soul a couple of times. The first time, uh, when we asked our soul if it was okay to come back to shore or to use a boat or a paddleboard to go out onto the ocean. And our soul reassured us that, yes, we don't have to ever jump all the way in and drown. I think of some of the spiritual awakening stories, especially when plant medicine is used in probably an irresponsible way, or you have someone who just for fun maybe does some kind of hallucinogenic like acid or magic mushrooms and ends up having a psychotic break because they weren't ready to sink. They weren't ready to be opened wide like that, to have those limits and boundaries removed all of a sudden. And they didn't have the support necessary to guide them through the process of sinking into the ocean. And of course, the second time that we asked for permission from our souls was when we're out on the paddleboard in the middle of the ocean, the shore so far away we can barely see it anymore. And we feel deeply, deeply tired and in need of a rest. And that's when our ego pops up, and that voice of shame or guilt for not being able to dive right in or paddle out further and deeper into the ocean pops up. That overachiever, that if I don't do this, they're expecting this. I have to do this. I have to be able to do this right now. But we asked our soul if it was okay. And yet again, we find that our souls have this beautiful, infinite compassion and capacity for love for us. And we are allowed to be exactly where we are and who we are in that moment. We are allowed to rest. We are allowed to take breaks. We're allowed to float on the surface before we go into the ocean. Our souls do not hold for us these expectations, these pressures, these limitations. They want us to connect to them and to feel the support that they offer always, to tap into that love and that deep space of rest and peace, no matter whether we are standing on the shore just looking at the possibility of the infinite unknown, or if we're floating on top, dangling our feet into that unknown, allowing ourselves to experience it while still holding on to our lifeline to the known world. It's all allowed. And yes, God, Spirit, the universe, Source, Creator, whatever your word is, they want us to know them so deeply, so fully. They want us to know that they have got our back, that they are supporting us, and that they are connected to us, whether we are on the shore or sinking deep into the ocean of their divine presence. But they also want us to be where we are. They want us to be aware of the limitations and expectations that we've accepted for ourselves. And they want us to feel deeply our human experience. Something that I've really begun to understand the deeper I go into this work and the further out from the shore I go, is how we really truly are all connected. Everything in the universe is connected. Technically speaking, there is actually no shore. We are all in the ocean, yet we are allowed to have these illusions of the shore, these illusions of control. And that's the thing, our minds love to feel in control of our experience, of our world, of everything around us. And yet, even though we know that we don't actually have control over everything, we still end up so hurt, so triggered, so traumatized, so bent out of shape and dysregulated when things don't go the way we want them to, because that small little mind that developed as we learned how to navigate this illusory world thinks that it has to be able to control everything to be safe. And I think that came out beautifully in episode 3, that even though we cannot control everything, or even most things, we can still be safe even when things are out of our control. And at this point, I think I should put in a little disclaimer here that we can be safe because we are our infinite, expansive, immortal souls. That does not always mean that our bodies are safe. And we may find ourselves in the way of bodily harm or experiencing psychological harm. Again, this illusory world is filled with horrible things and experiences and suffering. And I believe that we are starting to see that world falling apart, exploding apart in some places. The darkness, the shadows, the lies, the illusions are erupting and falling to pieces all around us. And I think that's another reason why this story, It's Time to Sync, came out when it did, and why this discussion is so important right now. We have the choice to focus on our own internal landscape and journey, or we have the opportunity and the choice to focus on what's happening in the world around us, the chaos, the disruption. And often a lot of us will find that our internal landscapes mirror the external landscapes, that we find ourselves feeling discombobulated, chaotic, exhausted, triggered, overly emotional, angry, grieving, depressed, anxious, overwhelmed. You name it, we're feeling it, because everything that is dark in the world that is coming up is simply a mirror to everything that has been dark and hidden in our own lives that is coming up. One thing that I was reminded when I listened to episode 3 again just before coming into this discussion is that it ended with the feeling of so much support. Our soul is there on the paddleboard with us, supporting us. And that manta ray that we swam through the universe, the galaxy of stars and the ocean as we came to rest, is a beautiful example of how we have other support as well. You can call this support your guides, God, angels, loved ones, family, friends, living or deceased. Call it the elementals, spirits or spirits. There are so many different words out there to describe and to name our vast connected support system. And this is a reminder for you that the support is there for you. If you don't feel like it is, that's okay. But I want to let you know it is still there, even if you can't feel it. And oftentimes, what I have found in my own life and in working with clients is that we often are rejecting unconsciously the support that has been offered to us. We are turning a blind eye when the universe shows us that it's there, that the support is ready for us. And it may be coming from a place that you weren't thinking to look, or that you didn't expect it to come from. Maybe you're expecting it to come from your family, your partner, your kids, your coworkers, somebody, and it's not coming from there. But I guarantee you it's coming from somewhere. So be open to it coming from an unknown place, from a surprising location, person, energy. Let yourself take those deep breaths in through your nose, sigh it out through your mouth. Let yourself sink into your body, leaving those thoughts behind, letting them just do whatever they're going to do. You don't control your thoughts because they are not yours. And I want to leave you today with a song that came out yesterday from me, surprisingly. And why is it so surprising? Well, I've never written a song before, and it seems to be the perfect way to end this episode. It's called Take a Rest, Baby. Take a rest, baby. Take a breath, baby. Take a beat, baby. And get some sleep. Slow your roll, baby. Life's taking its toll, baby. It's time to let the old go, baby. Lay it down. Take a seat, baby. You've been feeling the heat, baby. Your soul wants to meet you, baby, right where you are. Take a moment, baby, a deep, long moment, baby, to see what heaven sent you, baby, to let it all in. It's time to relax, baby. Spirit has your back, baby. Allow God to act, baby, on your behalf. It's time to surrender and release all that pressure. You don't have to hold it all together. Just let it all go. Thank you for meeting me here at the intersection of mystical and mundane. I invite you to keep answering that invitation from your soul to go deeper, to be openly curious. And I invite you to find the support that you're looking for. If you resonate with my work, please be sure to like, follow, subscribe to this podcast and find me on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And my website is questionsauthority.com. And wherever you are, you're being met exactly there, right now, with your soul. And I love you so much. And I'll meet you at the next episode of At the Intersection of Mystical and Mundane.